Hello, everybody. We are sitting here again with Ray for another discussion. Up until now, we've had several parts of a series called Disclosure, a lot of information. The first 4 parts was featuring Ray, and the 5th part was featuring somebody who I would say works under Ray, if we can say that. Her code name in the organization is the Black Widow. Obviously, that's not her real name, but everybody does have a code name within the organization. So my intention of asking Ray to come back beyond all the questions that you all asked me to ask him in an upcoming interview was really to ask him all your questions, and whatever comes up, I wanted to make this more calm and natural. And yes, I do have a lot of your questions in front of me, but more of a free-flowing conversation without any form of structure. I think that those types of conversations can lead to beautiful places because that's how my conversations with him happen all the time. And that's why I know what I know today, because of those conversations. So we're going to take it wherever it goes. Ray, as usual, thank you for being here again. And thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Pleasure as always.
Let's begin with, I think, the most obvious question. That's sort of like a foundational question. You and I have had a lot of experiences together. You've shown me a lot. You've taught me a lot. We've experienced a lot of things together. So I have a lot of reason to believe you also because of my experiences with you. But there are tons of people around the world watching these conversations with a lot of crazy things that are being said. How do they know what you're saying is true? And I'll take it one step further. There are some people that say, oh no, this is all a game and Jason is Ray and Ray is Jason. What would your response to something like that be?
So what are they saying? They're saying that you're interviewing yourself? That's what they're saying?
Pretty much. Not many, but it's there.
Well, you could always say everything is fake if you want to say it's fake. But let's try to be more logical. Number 1, why would I do this interview? Let's assume I'm real, okay? And it's not you. Why would I do this interview, or any interview? I have nothing to gain, only to lose. I'm not getting paid for it. There's no fame. I have to hide my identity, which I'm doing to protect my family. I see it as a dangerous move in a way, but I do it anyway. And let's assume that you're lying, and Ray is you. How could you be Ray when the original papers were written in Hebrew, which you cannot read or write? Maybe you're a little bit better today, but you couldn't read or write. Definitely not this level of Hebrew. So even if you are lying, there's got to be somebody else working with you, giving you the information, so you couldn't be Ray. Whoever wrote it is Ray, so nothing makes sense. It's illogical. I would not even pay attention to those arguments. But no matter what you're going to do, there's always going to be somebody out there trying to show that you are a con artist. But that's their problem.
That's something that you prepared me for, and I knew that that was a part of this work anyways. But again, let's assume you are real. How do we know what you're saying is true on the level of the public?
I made to you and to a few others certain predictions regarding crazy events that happened over the past 2 or 3 years. If I'm not real, how would you explain that my predictions came true?
Can you elaborate on those predictions for people that don't know what you're talking about?
I think we already did speak about them before, but I'll say it again. Predicting the pandemic, predicting that the United States and most of the world will shut down, predicting that the economy is going to go down to shit, predicting that this is all fake, predicting that this is all planned ahead of time, predicting fires in Australia, and fires in a way that's never been seen before in Australia. The closures in Israel that you went up and predicted on video. I don't know if you remember if you did it or not, but you predicted that the Jewish state is going to be shut down on the Jewish holidays. Unheard of, but you predicted it.
I didn't predict it. You were giving me that information.
Yeah, you were giving my predictions. This information was given to you, and you said you took a big chance because if those things that you said ahead of time would not have happened, you'd be shut down today. And then after the Jewish New Year, I believe it was, you made another prediction that in Passover, Israel will be shut down again. I believe it was Passover. and Israel was shut down again. Unheard of. Even in times of war, the country is never shut down, especially on holidays. Israel went through many wars. You predicted it.
Again, I didn't predict it. You told me that.
Yeah, so again, I'm not trying to say that I'm a prophet. I'm not. But if I'm not real, how would I know those things? Again, you got it from me. I got it from TLS. And we were working against certain things. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we purposely do not succeed. We just choose to do nothing. When I say we, I mean TLS. It's not necessarily me. It's not my style. I aim to succeed, and I aim to win it every time I go on a mission. But unfortunately, things don't always go my way.
Before going into some of the questions that also people asked, and again, we'll go wherever it flows, there's one thing that I want to bring up that I think is important to ask at this point regarding some of the comments that people made about something that you said specifically, I think, in our first interview together. It was an interview focused more on extraterrestrial life and your experiences with different extraterrestrial races, I would call them. I know you don't like to call them races because you see them as one and they see them as one. But for practical purposes, I'm calling them extraterrestrial races. When I asked you how many different races do you have experience with, your answer was about 5 or 6. And there were a lot of comments saying, well, what do you mean? Is it 5? Is it 6? Somebody that actually had experience with extraterrestrial races and extraterrestrials would probably remember if it was 5 or 6. How do you explain your answer to that?
I have many repeated experiences. It's just a way of expression. I have to think and count exactly how many races. I don't call them races. I would call them entities. Different entities. So I just answered you. It just came out. 5 or 6 or whatever. If you want me to count and tell you, it could be 7. It's more than one experience per race. So it's hard to answer exactly at that moment when you ask me. So I said about 5 or 6.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. I want to go big picture the past 2.5 years. We've spoken a lot about your experiences. You've shared a lot about your experiences. Underground tunnels, high technology, extraterrestrial life, some of the operations you were a part of, stopping induced man-made natural disasters, so-called, all these things. How has your most recent few months have been? I mean, you and I haven't sat down in this form of like interview conversation style on camera for about half a year at this point. What's been going on in your life? What are any updates that you can give us? What's going on in the world that you can share today from your perspective behind the scenes?
Well, it was a very busy year, really stressful year, both in my regular business and in around TLS.
I know from our conversations, you've been extremely stressed out. There are some times you even speak about quitting. You don't like the way certain things are going. And then a day later, you can say, you know what, I had a conversation with D, for example, and you may have had a change of heart. So I see a lot of back and forth in terms of the way you see things, both hopeful and then without hope whatsoever. Where are you right now in terms of your stance with what's going on in your work with TLS specifically?
Well, I am. I am thinking or contemplating quitting both my business, meaning retire or semi-retire, and quitting TLS. I didn't make a decision yet, but yeah, I am thinking about it for many personal reasons. And as you know, I'm not exactly agreeing with the way things are being done in TLS. I'm a one-man operation. They are more of a teamwork, which I understand, and it's a good way of doing things. But anything that has the slightest of violence in it, they will not do, in most cases. I believe it's wrong. I believe you have to answer violence with violence, and I believe that you have to use violence whenever it's necessary to protect whoever you need to protect. You asked me many times about the Holocaust. In my view, we are already in the process. A new process of a Holocaust. Maybe we're in the beginning stages. But if things are not going to be, if someone is not going to stop the madness that's going on and the crimes against humanity that are going on, we're not going to a good place.
I don't want to send a message to everybody that we're doomed because there's a lot of good things going on as well. So you're saying if somebody isn't going to do it, I understand that part of the job of the organization is to do whatever they can to stop it. And I also understand that there are some laws that they can't infringe upon, like free will and interference and things like that. So I know that you have your own perspective, and I know that you happen to be a pessimist. But let's do our best to keep the energy high also, because there's a lot of good things happening here.
I'm not a pessimist. I'm just being real. Big difference. I'm not saying that good things are not happening. A lot of good. More good things are happening than the bad things, but some of the bad things are really pretty bad, and somebody needs to do something. It's not being done.
Are they not doing anything?
I didn't say that. I said they're doing a lot of work, and a lot of things are being changed, stopped, and manipulated. But to my opinion, it's not enough.
Can you give some examples of what is being done? Let's focus on that for a second. Again, I know that you've been semi-involved and not involved in certain things. I know you've been given jobs that you said no to over the past few months for your own personal reasons. What can you share that you know that's going on the level of TLS right now, economically speaking, whatever it may be?
They do the same thing they've been doing for many, many years. Everybody has their own missions and tasks that they have to function with and to respond to reactions regarding certain problems. This year, I've been doing something different than I usually do. You know, I used to do the tunnels, as you know, and a lot of flying all over the world, and it was more of a physical, spiritual work at the same time. Today, I'm more into, let's say, a financial type of mission.
Can you elaborate on what that means?
Let me try, but it's not going to be easy to explain. I can't say too much about it, but what I can tell you is that I'm trying to create certain humanitarian work, a project, or projects, in order to help others, especially those in need. When I say financial, I mean collecting money in certain ways in order to not only provide for others, but in order for me and those working with me on the project will be able to continue this legacy when I'm gone. And in order to, through this power of money, because everything works on money today, as you know, is to take down certain targets in a manner that is not violent, so it would be okay with TLS.
The operation that you're talking about, is this something that TLS tasked you with, or did you decide to do something on your own?
No, it's my project. It's my idea, but I did get permission from TLS to do it.
Did you have any resistance from them when you brought this up?
I would not use the word resistance. I would use the word reluctance.
How long have you been working on this project that you're talking about?
This past year. It's probably going to take another year or two to complete. It's either I succeed or I will not succeed. There's nothing in between.
Is it dangerous?
Every day of my life is dangerous. There's a danger there. Everything is dangerous. Me sitting here with you and providing this interview, this discussion, it's dangerous. Not only for me, but also for you. I told you this, and I warned you, because you have a lot of sick people out there. And certain people, the elite, the psychopaths, they don't like people like me and you. We bring awareness to the world, trying to wake up people. People are waking up. We bring a different point of view into this game, and they don't like it.
You mentioned, and I still want to speak about this operation to learn a little bit more of whatever you can share. You mentioned something having to do with collecting money. Is it collecting money? What are you doing exactly? Are you raising money? Are you taking donations? What are you talking about?
No donations. Let's say I'm trying to grab money from the evildoers and provide it to the needy.
I understand. So you're moving money from the dark pockets and the evil people, like you said, to the masses and the people.
To the needy people, yes.
Needy, health, what are you talking about?
Health, clothing, food, everything.
Gotcha. What do you know when it comes to this whole thing that a lot of people are speaking about, QFS, the quantum financial system, NESARA, JASARA? Do you know anything relating to that? Any reality behind that? How real is it, and what's going on?
QFS is very real. It's already in motion. You can check with your banker. He will tell you. Or maybe not your banker, but his boss. But it's already in motion. NESARA, GASARA is a different story. I'm hoping things will be stopped. Predictions were made by many people that before this past election, chaos is going to come. Well, chaos is here, but not the way we think chaos is. So in my view, nothing really happened. Unfortunately, again, in my view, it's all going to continue. Corruption is going to continue. This facade about Republicans and Democrats is going to continue. And people are going to continue to watch CNN and Fox News and think they know everything. And the game will continue. The circus will continue.
How do you see that changing? I mean, Democrat, Republican, the circus that you're calling a circus, where does it end exactly? What needs to happen? Again, we hear a lot of things. We hear all these things regarding elections right before. They're not going to happen. They happened. We hear the emergency broadcast system is going to broadcast mass arrests happening around the world. I never spoke about that because anytime I asked you and anybody else that I trust, you guys said, it's not true. We would know about it. That's not happening. So I stay away from that. But there are a lot of people that are doing a lot of great work in this world that speak about that. And it still hasn't happened. Is it bound to happen in the future? Where do you see this change occurring? You always say that something big is going to happen that's going to change everything overnight. Does it have to do with things like that, or are we talking about a different event here?
Financially, we are heading up to a major, major disaster.
All I'm hearing here is darkness. Where is the light at the end of the tunnel?
There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not one of those people who like to wait for the light at the end of the tunnel. I like to get to the light in the beginning of the tunnel. That's the difference.
But that's not realistic. You said you're a realist.
So again, will things change? Yes. Whatever goes down will come up. Whatever goes up will come down. That's the way life is. We're just living in times where things are getting out of hand, more than usual. And instead of people going out and revolting, they're basically going into their home and they're waiting for Jesus to show up. Well, he's not going to show up unless you're going to do something about it. And unless the psychopaths, the elite, those who control the system, will not be taken out, they're not going to let go. They have no reason to let go. So you could do all the elections you want. They're all fraud anyway, on both sides. You could do whatever you want. Nothing is going to happen unless the big boys are going to collapse.
But again, what is the job of TLS, and why do you think that they're not doing what you think needs to be done?
Because their belief system is humanity has to go through certain processes throughout life. You can interfere in certain ways, in certain conditions, but the general process got to go through. And if that means Hitler shows up and kills 20, 30, 50 million people together with the Russians, it's part of the process.
So are you saying things like the Holocaust, for example, is part of the process? Because the next question, again, I know you somewhat answered that already, but the Holocaust, World War I, World War II as a whole, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all these things, they could have been stopped. They're not being stopped. Are you saying that their way of seeing that is there are certain things that are a part of the process, but at the same time, there are natural disasters that aren't natural that they stop? There are underground tunnels with horrible things going on underground that they literally blow up, for lack of a better term.
But not enough.
I beg to differ there. They were doing a lot.
When you have 1 million kids and you're taking a few 100,000, 200,000, or 300,000, you still have 700,000 there. What about the 700,000?
Why'd they stop?
I don't know.
Did they stop?
They're not as aggressive as the year 2021. They're not as aggressive as the year 2020.
Why?
It never stops. It's an ongoing process. I don't know why. I know I'm not involved with this anymore. I did my thing, and that's it. I moved on.
So today you're involved with more financial stuff in terms of what you're dealing with, specifically this, I guess it's like a one-man operation because it sounds like you're doing it by yourself.
Mostly.
Is this a physical thing that you're doing? You have to go places and move things?
Also.
And again, to clarify, your goal here is to move money from one place to another, from, call it the dark, into the light for the needy, as you call it.
Yes. Your description is correct.
What level of funds are we talking about?
I'm not giving you numbers, but it's big.
Is it in the millions? Is it in the billions?
You can't do nothing with millions. What I'm talking about, it cannot be done with millions.
Do you believe that you're going to succeed?
I hope so.
And you said it's going to take you about 1 to 2 more years.
Either I succeed or I fail.
Over the past 12 months, specifically over the past 7 months, you've been hinting and in many ways saying directly to me, Jason, if I'm not here tomorrow, if something happens, you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. And you gave me a set of instructions on what I have to do and how I have to do it. Does your are you telling me that because of this operation that you're doing that may have a danger in your life? Is there something that you're doing now that you weren't doing 2 years ago that suddenly you're coming and saying, if I'm dead tomorrow, if I'm no longer here, this is what you need to do?
Everything I've been doing for the last 10 to 12 years has an element of danger in it. It's not because of this operation or this project. I just told you, just in case if something happened, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. For you, I want to prepare you, that's all.
Are you preparing yourself for something that may cause you to not be here anymore?
I'm preparing my family without them understanding what I'm doing.
I want to jump into another topic regarding whatever you can share about names. I know you don't like naming names, so do this however you want. Individuals who may have been affiliated with the organization, individuals that we may know. I have a list of names here, actually. The first one I'm asking because it is spoken about in a certain portion of Rays of Light that I believe is going to be coming out in the near future. Edgar Casey. What was your connection to him? Do you have a connection to him? And does he have a connection to the organization?
No.
Why was he brought up in Rays of Light?
I was on a mission, and he came up in a spiritual vision while I was doing what I was doing. But no, I have no first-hand relationship with him, if that's what you want to know. No.
When you say spiritual vision, what are you talking?
It's too complicated to explain. Besides, your viewers are not going to understand it. If they think you're crazy now, they're definitely going to think you're crazy after that, so don't ask.
We'll move on. Dolores Cannon, amazing woman. Does she have any affiliation with TLS?
No.
Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein.
I don't know.
I speak about them and I ask about them specifically because Nikola Tesla is known for free energy. I know TLS does have devices that operate according to maybe that form of technology. And Albert Einstein, I believe, I know this isn't something that's widely believed in the common narrative and the mainstream narrative, but I believe that he did solve his unified formula, showing the unification and interconnection of absolutely everything, which changes everything. And maybe that's been suppressed and silenced and censored. But that's why I asked, was he a part of it? Did they influence him without him even knowing what they were doing?
I have no clue. It's before my time.
I'm going to ask you a question about somebody that I know that you know, which is why I'm bringing her up. Somebody who I interviewed in the past. You actually started asking me questions after you heard that I interviewed her, which is when our conversation started. And this woman is Kathy O'Brien. Kathy O'Brien has had a very, very hard life in terms of what she's gone through, MK Ultra survivor. Does that name ring a bell? And what can you share when it comes to Kathy O'Brien?
Yes, I met her twice. Twice in my life. Yes, I know her.
Does she know who you are?
No, if you're going to bring up my name or my code name, she's not going to recognize it. If she sees my face, she probably isn't going to remember me.
How do you explain, and how are you so sure that she wouldn't remember you?
Well, first of all, she's a great woman. I'm not trying to say anything bad, of course. She went through a lot. She was victimized over and over again. Again, she is perceived as this crazy lady, but she's not. Everything she's telling you in the world is true. Not only is it true, but 90% of what really happened, she doesn't even know about. She doesn't remember. It damaged her in such a way that unfortunately, she doesn't know the whole story. I know more about what happened to her than she knows about herself and her daughter. There were many other women in the group, by the way.
What forum did you meet her in?
I was brought in by TLS to try to help.
So was it almost like a TLS meeting that she was a part of?
Yes, it was a session. I wouldn't call it a meeting.
Did she know what she was a part of?
No, she knew that we were coming to help her. She knew she was in good hands. She has a specific, very close friend who somehow was connected to TLS and brought her in to help. They wanted her to remember more, to talk more, to bring more evidence and proof. But she is only capable of doing it under hypnosis. You bring her back, she doesn't remember anything.
So you're saying that that's why I guess you're calling it a session. You're putting her under a form of hypnosis to be able to remember what was going on?
Not me. I don't know how to do that. Somebody else did, but I was doing something else.
What was your place in that session?
I needed to help her move on spiritually, but it didn't really work.
Now, again, if you mentioned TLS to her, did she know what TLS was when she was in that session?
She might not know what you're talking about now, but most likely she wouldn't know. She definitely isn't going to recognize the people in the room if they sit next to her right now. My job was to bring her to a point spiritually that my friend could hypnotize her to get the information out of her. The problem is when she came out of hypnosis, she forgot everything she said, but she did give a lot of information.
And what was the
That's how I know what I know about her, and she doesn't know.
and what was the purpose of retrieving that information?
Again, this is not my decision. I was there to do specific work. I guess they wanted information about those corrupt individuals and do something about it. But as usual, in the end, unfortunately, nothing was done.
You're very pessimistic.
But I'm giving you the facts. Nothing was done.
There are many times where you and I have spoken and you're rejoicing with joy of certain things that were.
Yes, but I'm talking about her. Those son of a bitches who did what they did to her are still alive and still breathing.
Who are we talking about?
I'm not going to mention names.
Can you tell us who they are without mentioning names?
High-level ranking people at the level of the White House, presidents, vice presidents, and so on.
That did what?
Abused her. I'm not going to give you details.
Abused her physically.
In every way possible.
And her daughter.
I never met her daughter, but yes.
Kathy has written books about this and she shares it publicly.
I know.
How do you think she's still alive today?
I find it amazing.
Do you believe that Kathy has any form of protection?
I know she does.
And when you say you know she does, are you speaking on behalf of TLS?
Yes.
Physically, spiritually?
Physically. Spiritually, they tried. It doesn't work.
I want to speak more about an operation that you've told me about in the past. I think it happened a few years ago, before you and I were doing any of this, and before you and I, had our interaction and all that. Regarding TLS and work that they've done that you were a part of that is questionable on the surface, that I'd like to bring to awareness and just see your response. You're the first person to know, because you've also shared it on camera multiple times, that organizations like the CIA and the KGB and the Mossad and all those organizations are extremely corrupt.
Okay.
I know you said NASA is extremely corrupt. I think we all know that as well.
Correct.
At the same time, there was an operation that I know that you say TLS worked in conjunction, not with, but in conjunction with the Mossad to get something done. How is it that if these organizations are so evil, TLS would work in conjunction with them on certain operations?
If the agenda fits the needs of TLS, why not?
So what happened in that case with the Mossad that they chose to work in conjunction with them?
There was a problem that they couldn't fix on their own, and they asked for help, so we came to help.
Are there any details you can give about that problem?
Details? Be more specific. What do you mean by details?
I know it has to do with plutonium being confiscated. Can you speak more about that?
It was more of a smaller nuclear device.
That was being taken away out of somebody's hands.
No, it was hidden in a structure. They couldn't find it.
When you say they, you're speaking about the Mossad.
Yes.
So does the Mossad know TLS exists? Did they call TLS?
Of course.
Do they know that TLS exists?
Of course.
What do they know about TLS?
Well, everybody knows now.
But again, you're saying that the Mossad are the evildoers. So in what world with the evildoers, the people that TLS is trying to take out and down, call TLS and say, hey guys, we need your help.
No, the Mossad is not the evildoers. The Mossad is a corrupt organization, such as the CIA. They do corrupt things for the government who employs them. It's different. Most of those guys are very, very good guys. Very brilliant. Strong guys. With a lot of life experiences. And they believe in what they do, and they do their job. Most of them don't even understand how corrupt the organization is. That's how things work. I'm just saying what I'm saying because I feel free to speak here. My identity is a secret right now, but I promise you, if any of those guys, for example, the head of the Mossad, who at that time, the job you speaking about happened, if he was watching this right now, he knows exactly who I am.
By name.
Yes.
Did he ever try to work with you other than that job?
Yes, I told him I'm not working with anybody.
What did they want from you?
To continue. They were so impressed about what happened that day. They wanted to work directly. And I told them I'm not working for you guys.
Why did you choose not to?
Because I don't trust them. Especially the head of the Mossad.
So is it fair to say that the head of the Mossad is probably not the greatest guy?
This specific one? Yes, he left in shame.
You said they were impressed with your job. What'd you do exactly? I know what you did. I just want you to say it.
I was able to, first of all, find the device, retrieve it, and get rid of it.
I know that there are amazing details that you can share here. You could share pieces of it. Don't tell me you can't.
What do you want me to share? I was under major gunfire. We were exposed in a very short time. I don't know how it happened, but we got exposed. Major gunfire. A lot of people were killed. Not on our side. A lot of people were killed. They took me out with special vehicles, and I made it out safely.
You didn't get hurt at all?
None of us did. That day, none of us.
Even with all the gunshots?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. None of the soldiers that were there got hurt. Nobody got hurt.
Did you have to use any form of like supernatural abilities during that operation to do what you needed to do?
Of course.
Can you elaborate?
I had to find the device.
How do you do that?
I can't tell you.
Big picture.
What do you mean, big picture?
You can share big picture.
I can't share big picture. I have my tools. I go to work. I retrieve. I go out. That's it. I'm done. My job was done in 20 minutes.
Did the individuals that were a part of the unit in the Mossad that sort of escorted you see you and what you were doing?
Yes.
How did they react? Because you do weird stuff with your objects and your tools and, your movement to find what you're looking for.
Well, they were told in advance. They were very young soldiers. They never experienced such a thing. They were told in advance to do exactly as I say, not to react to anything I do, and just to guard, just in case something happened on the inside. There were another 100 soldiers on the outside. There were 20 inside the building.
Oh, so you were a big unit?
Yes, it was a major operation.
Wow. 20 minutes in, out, and you were done.
We had to dress in certain outfits to fit the neighborhood. It wasn't soldiers in uniform. And yeah, when they started to see things, certain things that were crazy with their own eyes, yeah, they were in shock, but they kept calm. They were cool about it.
I want to ask you a question completely unrelated to what we're speaking about right now, something that I've asked you in the past and that a lot of people have asked me to ask you as well regarding your knowledge about it. So there's a point on this planet that a lot of weird things happen and a lot of weird things have been happening for a very long time. We call that point the Bermuda Triangle. What do you know about the Bermuda Triangle? Have you ever been there for work purposes or training purposes?
Subscribe.